So this is following on from one of the questions that came from doing the coasters. I thought do a video to help explain it. So the question was, how do you do a 1/4 of an inch seam when you're sewing diagonally? A 1/4 of an inch seam is something that is used a lot in quilting, and so we can get special feet to help us. So this one has a guard on the side here, and as you're sewing you just line up the fabric along there and you get your 1/4 of an inch seam. Some don't have that, they will just have this piece here which marks 1/4 of an inch. So what I do, you may just see it here, these two here, just so I was checking to make sure where the 1/4 of an inch was on one of my new machines, checking out the feet. I did a line of stitching and then used what I would imagine to be the 1/4 of an inch mark on the foot, and then once it's off the machine I measured it. So the next time I go and use that foot, I know exactly where that 1/4 of an inch is. So you'll find on a lot of them they'll have markings along the side of the foot as well. That's helpful when you come into corners to turn around. You can line those up so you get your 1/2 inch and your 1/4 of an inch so that you know where to sew up to. When we're doing the coasters, we wanted to go diagonally across. So what we do, I marked the diagonal on the lighter part of the fabric, so I'm just doing it on paper just to demonstrate, and then you have a line from corner to corner diagonally. You have your two pieces of fabric side by side, and then you want to stitch a 1/4 of an inch either side. So with your 1/4 of an inch foot, you're going to put it on the machine and you're going to sew, and you're going to sew one side first, and then you're going to turn around and do the other side. So here you would line up your 1/4 of an inch mark along that line, sew down, so it means that you'll be stitching 1/4 of an inch this side. And you turn it round and you do exactly the same thing coming back. You line your 1/4 of an inch up mark with that line that you've drawn, and you're stitching 1/4 of an inch back this way. Now if you don't have a 1/4 of an inch foot, you can mark it. So what you do is you get your fabric, just a scrap piece of fabric, do your line of stitching, mark where your 1/4 of an inch is, and then you work out and mark on your machine. Some people use tape, some draw a line, so they know where they're going. For the coasters, we're only doing a single block. We're not going to be making lots of blocks and joining them together and wanting them to fit. So if you don't have a 1/4 of an inch foot, you can use just the edge of your foot, but as long as you're using the same mark for each of your seams, then you're going to be able to fit your pieces together. But it's well worth investing in a piecing foot. They're called either a 1/4 of an inch foot or a piecing foot, used for quilting, and you can have them with or without a guard. So this is one of the feet that I won't be without, so I will sew everything either with my piecing foot or with the walking foot, depending on what I'm doing. But for my quilting, they are the 2 feet that I would use. So I hope that helps, and I'll speak to you very soon with my next helpful hints and tips.